Well, hello again. Welcome back to Gelvin Valley for another episode. Kind of where we left off. We're hauling bales, and we had just a couple more than we needed on this particular trailer, and we had to haul all the way up here to our Stonehenge field to collect a couple. So I think we could kind of head back down the hill. I just love this little passageway here down onto the flat. There's multiple ways to get into this field, and this is kind of a back roads way of getting up here. I know we kind of used it when we were harvesting. I got to be a little bit more careful when I'm hauling all these bales. It's a little narrow and twisted road to get in and out of here, but we'll make it work. And I seem to recall, let me just see here. Yeah, there's probably no easy way to do it. I seem to recall that up here at whatever this place is called, the horse facility, ranch, whatever it is, I can get in and out of here. There is a bale cell right over in the corner. I think you can kind of see the trigger. Now this trigger I didn't mess with in the map. Maybe I could have pulled it out so I could easily take the bales back there. I don't know that there's any easy way to get in there with this trailer and jam it into the building where I can sell these bales. So unfortunately, I think what that means is I need to do it the hard way and head to the other side of the valley, which we'll do here to take them to market. We'll do that. Take it up to where the auction is and sell them to the highest bidder. Oops. I'm going to stay on the correct side of the road. Pedestrian. Whoa, that was close. It's a wonder I haven't been ticketed for how I zip through here. There's probably multiple pedestrians ready to have me barred from ever driving again. But that is the way it is. I have encountered a little bit of damage on my tractor. That is 100% on me. I can't blame it on horseplay. I'm just glad to start refilling our cash coffers. I'll be tickled to get under. We'll see if we can. Might be a stretch. We'll see if I can get under 30,000 in the hole. What a marker to get under. Just being in the hole, $30,000. Yeah, the slow hill. Watch the time tick away on my rental, but I think I'm making pretty good time. I've already done those lower fields, 2, 1, 3, 4, and 49. Stonehenge, I probably have another load out of before I head to the big ones. So maybe I over leased it. Maybe 3 hours would have been okay, but that's all right. It didn't cost that much to lease it. Has anybody ever used that rental mod, by the way? It, I can't remember the modder. It's obviously a script mod that was put together to do it. There is something I don't like about it, though, and that is its inaccessibility for being able to learn from it, if you will. The modder, for whatever reason, chose to lock the thing tight. So, you can open it. You can open the Lua files, if you will. And that's specifically what I'm speaking of is the Lua files. Um, oops. Ah, I did get below 30. Woohoo! Fantastical. So I'm making some decent money in all this. Keep from taking out a sign. But it's like he protected the files so that nobody can read them. And, I think I've expressed before in here, I'm a novice at coding, and most of the mods that I've released have all involved Lua coding. And so that's kind of the type of modding I've tried to learn to do. Well, I've never tried to hide it, of course. A professional looking at my code would say it leaves a lot to be desired, and of course they'd be right. But the only way we can learn is, through the Giants codes, and a lot of times, there's other mods, I've tried to look at to say, well, how do they do this? And it's sometimes can be very helpful to look at someone else's mod to figure out your own as to how you'd like to do it. But this particular modder, for whatever reason, locked it up. You try to open it, it's just a bunch of hieroglyphics, and you can't make heads or tails out of it. Just absolutely nothing. Some other modders, too, they don't lock it, but they render it useless. So after they get to uncoding, they remove all the things in the document that make it readable. And typically when you set up a batch of code, I don't know if anybody's ever pulled that open, it has, it's not paragraphs, but it's line by line of code, kind of in a logical fashion. Well, you don't have to set it up that way. It's just we set it up that way as humans to help us understand it and to be able to come back to it, to make changes or whatever. The computer doesn't care how you order it, if, within certain constraints, of course. So a lot of times, some of these modders will take their creation and they will remove all the spaces and tabs and whatnot that make it understandable. And so you open it and it's just this massive wall of text that you could, I guess, in theory, if you were careful and took a lot of time, you could uncork it and maybe try to start understanding it, but it would be very difficult. And some of them will go one step further. A lot of times when you're coding in Lua, when you got certain variables, you give them intuitive names. Maybe if it's like the speed of your mod or something, you use the term speed. That seems pretty intuitive, so you know what it is. Well, a lot of times to hide all those intuitive references, some modders, when they release their mod, they will just change terms in there, and instead of speed, they call it, variable A. Well, that doesn't tell you jack diddly. And so I know a lot of times they do this on purpose. They have their reasons. I don't particularly care for that because I like learning as much as I can. And I think it stifles learning and some amount of creativity when modders don't leave their work open, just for gain. If they were selling, their work or their mod, or if it was like a DLC, well, then yeah, obviously feel free to lock it up. That's proprietary. But if it's just for a mod, I've never understood, why someone would need to, lock it up tight. But I'm sure they have their reasons. Oh, this auto load. I'm gonna see. This is what's handy when they leave their code open. If I get tired of this auto load being stopped, I can go into the code and figure out where it is that's causing that, and I can turn it off if if I wish, or raise the speed limit to 900 kilometers an hour, if I want to prevent it from ever showing up again or being an issue. Yeah, they're turned off again. Just keeps turning off, so I don't think it likes me. Let me see if I can swim in between these two bales. Yeah, I didn't really like that. I know I could sneak out of here. There we go. I gotta go up the field. What is it? 41, I think, to grab a few more bales. I don't think I've left any down in Stonehenge Field. So now I've got to haul it uphill here and grab a few more. But speaking of mods, I know I've mentioned this other map that I'm working on, and there was so many ideas that I had that I wanted to try on it. I kind of shelved them, and now I'm revisiting them, trying to get all that out of my system, and I think at some point I'll try to share them in some videos, as I do a Let's Play maybe on that map, and it's not something I'll ever be able to release, unfortunately, but I could probably share about them in here. But we'll see. Maybe by some stroke of luck I'll be able to talk to the original modder, but we'll see. But I'm getting through kind of my idea list, if you will. There's one other one I was thinking of putting together on there. I've embedded a lot of additional scripts on the map, custom Lewis scripts that I've written, and one other one I'd like to do is to put something in it. Oh, looks like our trailer's full. What's the best way? Boy, 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 oh boy. Probably just to need to head down the hill I came up and head off. Yep, that's probably what I need to do. Following the car. Out of the ditch. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that turn. Maybe come up here and back up into this area. This trailer is rather long, and the hitch doesn't let me turn or swivel quite as freely as I would. Oh, well, look at this. Yeah, there's a hole right there. Trouble is, I'm dinging my tractor, I think, on every time I go through that. Okay. Let's see if I can get through there now. There we go. Anyway, this other mod idea that I'd like to build into it, another script, is to simulate something that I saw in the Seasons mod. Maybe people remember seeing this, but green grass will rot. And so, if it's left outdoors long enough, kind of open in the elements, if you will. So one of the things they built in is every day, if you left green grass clipped or cut, just kind of sitting out in windrows or whatever, it would reduce those windrows by a little bit to kind of account for the amount that would rot or dissipate out of it. And if you have straw or hay windrows kind of sitting out in the field, if it rains or hails on it, there's going to be a weather impact to it that removes a little bit. So the Seasons mod kind of had a script to take care of that would handle every single windrow, grass, dry grass, and straw windrows on the map. So I kind of like to bring something like that over to Farm Sim 15. I don't know why, it was one more idea I had, and just to bring a little bit more realism in case we get rain or whatever in game. Odds are I'm going to know what it's going to do, so I'm probably not going to leave grass just hanging out there because I wouldn't want it to disappear. But that's something I'm thinking of trying to put together, and like I say, it'll be a script mod. I can look at what the guys did with the Seasons mod, but Farm Sim 17 changed some things quite a bit, when it came to windrows in the field, if you will, that are just different from how they were in Farm Sim 15. You may have noticed in 17 that there was a whole extra layer added to the map for tip types. That's kind of what fill types became, where you could tip it anywhere on the map. You had wheat in the trailer and you could dump it wherever you wanted on the ground. Well, this all is on a special, I forget what it's called, but it's a special layer added to the map to enable the player to do just that, to tip stuff all over. So when you cut a windrow of grass or turn it into dry grass, or when straw hits the map, it's all going into that special layer, where it kind of sits on the map, can be tipped anywhere. Well, it's way different from that in Farm Sim 15. And it's kind of hard for me to explain why it's different, and I'm not sure I even totally understand it. But the windrows themselves, it's almost like they're a separate fruit in the map that gets called up, whenever they're needed. And so they appear on the map just like any other crop would appear on the map, when they're needed. And they are tied to, straw would be tied in, wheat windrow would be tied in with wheat, and what have you. But the coding to handle it is quite a bit different in Farm Sim 15 versus 17. So I can kind of get some ideas of, oops, okay, I accidentally hit the wrong key. Toggle product type. Grass, silage. Hey, there we go. I must have round bales mixed. Alright, good enough. Oh. Let me come back here. There we go. Hey, 23,000 negative. We are whittling it down, folks. Makes me very happy. Oh, that time I hit the silly stop sign. Sometimes those break off. So anyway, I thought I would just throw that out there. That's kind of an idea I have in mind that I want to build into the map. And I don't know what other guys do when they face a project like this. If there's anybody else listening that has Lua coding experience, and I don't care if it's Lua coding or not, a lot of times if you got an idea, one of the places your mind goes is, who else out there may have done something similar? That maybe I could go look and see how they did it, and or give me some clues, kind of what, I need to do when I do my project over here. For example, one of the scripts I made for this map for a trailer, and we'll see it eventually when we start tilling up all these fields. But one script that I have is I put it on a trailer so that it could auto-load rocks. Just like right now we are auto-loading bales. There's another trailer type that will auto-load logs, for the logging stuff. Well, I put a script on a trailer that will auto-load rocks. And incidentally, it will also auto-load tree stumps and those kinds of things. And so when I was making that script, which was originally in Farm Sim 17, one of the things I looked at was the auto-loading scripts for bales and the auto-loading script for logs, just to see how they did it. And so I could basically not copy, I didn't copy it at all, but just to see the how. And then I built a script kind of around the how so I could get it to do rocks, the things that I wanted it to do. Just one of those ways that modders can learn from one another. So in this case here, if I want to take this other map and figure out a way to impact the windrows on it, if there's cut grass or straw on the ground and it rains, so I'm now thinking about what could I look at that maybe someone has done something similar. And the one thing that has come to mind that I intend to study in great detail is when I think of something that removes, see in this case here, this script would be removing grass, removing dry grass, removing straw. So when you think about the stuff in game, what is it that does all of those three things periodically? The one thing I could think of was a forage wagon. You know, that you pull behind the tractor and you go through the field and you pick up from these windrows. You know, in the forage wagon, you can haul straw, you can haul grass, you can haul dry grass, all these different things you can haul in the forage wagon. So something in the scripting, the Lewis scripting of the forage wagon allows it to do all of these things. And of course, you know, when you're taking the forage wagon through, you're picking up all of it in its entirety. So, you know, if it's just for rain or something overnight, you know, when I work on this script, you know, I'll want to modify it so that it only takes a little bit up. Whereas the forage wagon, of course, you know, would take much more. You take the whole winter or whatever's in there. But I'm betting that if I look at the Giants Lewis script for the forage wagon, it's going to give me clues as to how to do it. You know, even in a broader sense, obviously with a forage wagon, you're just going to be picking up from the tiny working area right by the opening or the entrance to the forage wagon itself. So it's just a tiny little square. You know, whereas something I want to do will be map wide, or I was thinking not necessarily doing it 100%. I could just do it on a random basis, and that would be good enough. Search for random areas on the map, and if it happens to have straw or grass or something in it, then do this, you know, meaning then remove a little bit of it if it's raining versus doing it to the whole map. You know, that might be a better way to do it. Maybe the seasons mod does it that way, but maybe I wouldn't have to do it to the whole of everything. I'll have to give that some thought. So that's kind of what I'm planning on this other map, if you will, kind of what I have in mind. If anybody upon hearing this is aware of a script in Farm Sim 15 that already does this, hey, I'm all ears. Of course, I don't know when everybody will end up hearing this. Um, Depends on when it airs. It could be a while yet, so maybe by then I'll already have it figured out. So who knows? But if you're aware of something where, you know, this already works and I don't need to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, please do let me know, and I'll maybe try to go find that particular script and give it a look. And that is a question I guess I could throw out there too. You know, I've talked a little about this other map, you know, that I'm fiddling with, that I had kind of a list of things that were on my dream list of stuff that I wanted to do to it that I thought about back in the day, just never took time or had time to get to it. What is something, you know, with all the maps, you know, anybody listening to this maybe has played, what is something you would have built into the map or that you wish would have been built into a map? You know, I'm kind of curious, you know, what some of your ideas may be. Um, I know here, this was in Farm Sim 19, I got contacted by a mapper and he asked for some help to set up a flood script. You know, he had some water in the map, and when it rained really, really hard, he wanted to simulate flooding. So the reservoir would fill up and kind of overflow the edges in places. You know, he had a low-lying area in town that he kind of wanted to have flooded from time to time, and so I mean that sounded kind of like a cool idea. So I helped put together a script so that that's what it would do in his map. And And yeah, that was just something kind of unique that he wanted to build into his map, to give kind of a unique experience to the player. So, and I know there's a number of the apps that'll have, certain interesting scripts embedded in them, and they don't always advertise that fact, that they have that in there. I'm aware there's another mapper, that's had some interesting scripts put in for, oh, what was it? Speed checks? I think in town he had put up some signs that the maximum speed was supposed to be, such and such, whatever it was. And well, if you didn't pay attention to that, there was a speed trap in the town that if you were going too fast, you would get a ticket and you would be charged a fine. So, I mean, kind of just a quirky thing. I mean, the script I'm proposing putting in affects agriculture. This other one was more kind of just a fun little script to kind of twist the tail of the player, if you will, and get them to groan. But there could be all kinds of things like that. So, I'd be curious to know, anybody listening to this, what ideas you might have for a cool script idea to put into an app to get some interesting functionality from it, and that kind of thing. Part of it maybe is I just need to download a ton of apps or something and see kind of what they have in them. But whether it's this, I've built a lot of my own scripts. You throw them in there, get them to work. So sometimes, I mean, by the time you'd find something that may work in your case, you just built it yourself. If you have a little bit of know-how to do it and the time to do it. And time is always the limiting factor, it seems like. Especially now if I'm doing a little YouTubing instead of being parked in front of my text editor and doing Lewis scripting. Are you going uphill? Can I get in front of you? Let me see if I can pull this off. I think I did. I just did something highly irritating because he's probably going to catch it. There he is. Now he has to wait on me at a whopping 6 miles an hour. That's got to be one of the most annoying things to a driver when someone passes you only to get in front of you and slow down because they didn't know what was coming or whatever. Maybe they did know what was coming and they just did it on purpose. So 23,000 in the hole. Maybe this will put me under 20. I am liking getting out. That'll put me basically halfway, getting back to zero just from some straw bales here. So I am liking the direction this is going. We're just about done with our first hour on leasing this trailer, so I think we're making pretty decent time. Making use of the trailer to get through our fields. About it. There we go. Yeah, down below 20. My goodness, I may be able, well, we'll see. I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched. Maybe I'll actually get north of zero, which would be just peachy. Because then it means that all the grain that I have in storage is bonus on top of it. I don't even remember how much I have in storage at the moment. Whoops. Better stay out of that car's way. In all these episodes, maybe I could watch the clock in game. I know what my friend Atomic told me to do was to set a stopwatch beside me to have kind of a limit on how long an episode is. So I've tried to do that, and as I just glanced at it here, of course my cell phone keeps turning off. If you wonder periodically why I stop and I don't do anything, a lot of times it's to punch in the code on my cell phone so I can log in and see kind of where the timer is. I wish it showed it to me even when I wasn't in there, um, but it doesn't. But even as I look at it here, it's informing me that I'm already through another half hour. So the first couple episodes I made, one of them went almost 2 hours, and that seemed kind of easy. I just turned it on and just kept going and bored people for 2 hours instead of just in half-hour increments. So, but oh well. I'll maybe get this back up to our vehicle. Oh, that was quite a stunner. I wonder if I'm popping an air. Oh my! Oh, look at that. Seems like I am popping an error in here. Again is active for input. Bunker silo. I'm not sure why bunker silo is calling anything when I haven't even used the bunker silo. Bunker silo is the I think where you make silage. I could be mistaken on that, but I haven't made any silage in here, so I'm not sure why that is jitterbuggy, but it is. It's interesting sometimes. This is something I don't understand about computers. It's one of those things that practically makes you wonder if there really are gremlins in the system. But that particular error that just was hitting, we may never see it again. The next time I open the game up, that error will disappear. Probably not happen again, or not happen the same way. So sometimes they just seem to happen kind of like anomalies. I'm not sure why. And by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, this particular area of the map up here is designed for sheep. I think earlier we went by where the sheep are raised. We just don't have any up here yet. I'm scraping that gate post. So we'll slink back into the field here real quick, and I think I will call the episode here and bid everybody adieu for this particular episode. So I want to say thank you for stopping by to share a little bit of time with me. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing great, and wish you all the best until we meet the next time. Goodbye for now.